Hello, my name is Ryan Shaver, and I'm with the North Carolina Masonry Contractors Association, and I'm joined today by Doc McGee. And we built this project here for the North Carolina Skills Contest that will happen April 28th. This will be your orientation and briefing on the project that you will be building. We have built the project exactly like it's going to be built in Greensboro, and we're fixing to show you all of our judging points and where we will be looking to take points off at. So stay tuned. All right, so our first category is plumb, and as you see, Doc's starting on the back left-hand corner. You'll be judged plumb on 4 corners, and you saw that on the diagram that popped up on the screen. Doc, what are you getting off there?
1 point.
So Doc's got the step gauge that inserted 1 time, so I'm gonna go up on top of this corner and put -1. Every point, every time the step gauge goes in, that's a point deduction. So low score wins. So your goal is to build the project as tight as possible where you don't have any deductions. So low score is gonna win today. And Doc's plumbing up, he's getting the bubble correct. Now he's working with his step gauge, seeing if he can get the step gauge in. And where the step gauge goes in the most is where Doc will take the most points. So if it will go in 1 time in 2 spots, that's not 2 points. That's only 1 point deducted. Doc, what you got?
-2.
All right, Doc found the -2 there. So the step gauge went in twice instead of once. All right, so Doc's on his 3rd location here, which would be C. And I've got them marked for you on your sheet, A, B, C, and D. So Doc's inserting the step gauge, getting the bubble dead in the middle on the level, and he's gonna try to find what he can get deducted here.
That's a 1.
Doc's got a -1, so I'm gonna write -1 on this corner. Now Doc's got the back corner, which would be D on your sheet. 4 corners will be graded.
0.
And Doc's got a 0 on D. So if we take our total, I've got a -1 here, a -2, and a -1. So that total would be -4. So we have got 4 points deducted on plumb. Remember, low score wins today. All right, our next category will be level. Now we're gonna grade you on level in 3 locations. Doc's got his level right in the middle of the project on the top of the roll lock. And then we're gonna go 2nd brick from the left and 2nd brick from the right. So we're gonna grade those 2 bricks in the middle of the roll lock. So Doc, get started here and see how many points we can find. So Doc's looking at his bubble in the level first. The bubble looks relatively good in between the lines. It's not hard lining, so that's a good plus. So Doc's gonna start looking and see if he can insert the gauge anywhere.
I would say that would be 1.
Doc's found a -1. Now he's going from the 2nd brick from the left. He's gonna do the same thing. He's gonna look at his bubble first. His bubble is really close, so he's gonna test it and see if he puts 1 under it.
That's a 0.
And he can't, so that's a 0. Now he's gonna go 2nd brick from the other side and do the same thing. And the bubble real close, but when he puts 1 under it, it throws it way out of the mark. So
that'd be 0.
that's a 0 there. So we've got 1 deduction in the middle on the roll lock, so on level we'd be -1. Remember, low score wins. All right, our next category will be straight edge and range. We're gonna check you in 3 locations on this project, and Doc's gonna show you A, B, and C. So Doc, show them where A would be. So this is our straight edge. We do 2 straight edge, and then we're gonna do a range. So Doc's gonna come to the top of the roll lock, and he's gonna take a look all the way down and see if he can insert the step gauge anywhere in between the level and the roll lock brick.
That's a 0.
Doc said he's 0 points there. So now he's gonna go in the middle of the soldier, the middle of the middle block course in the middle of the soldier, and he's gonna straight edge and do the same thing. He's gonna make sure that your soldier's perfectly aligned with your block that you laid.
0.
Doc says he's got a 0 deduction there. So A, B, and C have been 0. Now he's gonna range the project. He's gonna go with the course of brick under the roll lock and then angle the 4-foot level down to the brick on the side. So Doc's gonna test that.
That's a 0.
And Doc said that's a 0. Doc, leave the level there and let them see exactly how we're gonna come under the roll lock, on the course of brick under the roll lock, and we're gonna range that project right down to the bottom course right here at the first brick right there. So Doc's got that, and he said that he's got 0 deducted there. So this would be A, B, and then Doc's doing C. He got 0 deductions, so our score on straight edge and range is a 0. All right, our next category will be measurements. We're gonna measure this project in 2 locations. We're gonna measure the height, looking at the front of the project will be on the left-hand side. And then we're gonna measure the length, which will be on the top front of the roll lock. So our height, remember our height measurement, if the mortar board's right here, it's gonna be on the front left-hand side is where we're gonna measure. So Doc, let's get a measurement here. Our measurement is supposed to be 41 3/8. All right, so we're gonna check our height here, and Doc's got his rule. And so what I'm gonna do, our height is supposed to be 41 3/8. So I'm gonna take my step gauge and I'm gonna help Doc there. That way he can get an accurate reading underneath the step gauge. So Doc, what are you showing there?
41.5.
All right, Doc's reading 41.5, so that means that this project is an 1/8 inch high. So that would be deducting 2 points. Every 1/16 of an inch is a point deducted. So that's 2 points deducted on our height there. Now our next measurement will be our length. Now I'm gonna take the step gauge and I'm gonna put it right on the end of that roll lock brick. That way Doc can bump that roll lock, or bump my step gauge, and be extremely accurate with the measurement. Now, the length of this project is 47 5/8. So Doc's gonna look and he's gonna see. Doc, what do we look like?
47 9/16.
So Doc's saying he's got 47 9/16, so that's a 1/16 shy of being correct. So that's another point deducted. So let's recap. My height, I had 2 points deducted, and my length, I had 1 point deducted. So that's -3 on my measurements. Remember, low score wins. Our next category will be correct design. Now you will be given a plan at the contest that morning. It is imperative that your plan matches what you build. So what I'm saying is you need to make sure that your soldier brick are in between the block like shown here. Everything on that plan and everything you build should match. For every unit that you lay that does not match the plan you're given, that will be a 1 point deduction. So make sure that you really look at your plan and study that, and make sure that your project matches that front and back at the end of the contest. Our next category will be tooling and neatness. Now, tooling and neatness is judged the whole way around the project, both the front, back, and both jambs. So make sure that you tool the project, brush it, joint it, make it look extremely crisp all the way around, because that's where it will be judged, the entire project, not just the front face side. All right, so Doc's gonna start looking here and he's gonna point out a couple of indiscrepancies. Now, we're at the state level contest. We've got some really, really great competition, so we have to really fine tune and really get tight on how we look at this category, because everyone will be relatively close. So we start picking out the discrepancies and the joints that we see that could have been touched up or could have been jointed a little better. So Doc, get us started out here.
This is a very subjective thing that we're looking at now, this criteria. But when you get to looking at it, if you look at this bed joint, it's not sealed properly here and here. It'll show up in, like I said, it's subjective, so whoever's looking at it may pick up or may not. But when you really start looking, you look at this head joint on this soldier, the joiner was seated at the bottom, and it's not totally seated all the way to the top, so it's not 100% correct. And then if you really get to look into one beside it, is a little bit the same way. So pay attention to how you're joining and how you're brushing, and make sure that everything is sealed and slick and crisp like it should be for a state level competition. Now we've moved to the back of the panel, and as I start looking, there's a bed joint that intersects this head joint that was not struck again after the bed joint was pulled. To me, it's neater if you pull it all the way through and make it clean and crisp. Like this joint, it should look like this instead of like this right here. This is just does not look right to me. And when you start looking at the overall thing, there's a little place here where the bed joint's not sealed against the block. There's a few little holes. I call them holes. They're not that bad, but when you're judging a competition, this is all subjective, and they'll be looking real hard at it. So make sure that you hit these head joints real good, and then the bed joint again, and make sure you don't have a hole at the top or the bottom, and everything's seated and sealed good. Like right here, it's not seated at the bottom as well as it is at the top. And looking at this, the way I would judge it, we would have one deduction on the front and one on the back. So that would be a total of 2 deductions on tooling and neatness on this project.
All right, our next category is full and uniform joints. So this is a very, very important category. This will be graded as the project is being built. So I'm gonna let Doc talk about that because he graded as this project was being built.
Watching it being built, we was getting good full bed joint spread. We were getting full head joints put on as we were laying the brick. It has to be buttered properly to get that full head joint. The bed joint is, you can spread it, you're gonna see if it's covering the brick. But the end of the brick, when you're putting that head joint on, make sure you got a full head joint. Because like he said, we'll be through about 4 times during the process of building the project, and we'll be looking at that to see how full the head joints are. And also, uniformity is covered in this category. And these joints, the head joints, need to be uniform, and the brick need to be laid so that they line up with the block. That means you got to keep your joints very neat and uniform, because if you don't, it'll start encroaching here, and this joint that's coming up between the brick and the block will not line up, and it's supposed to line up on all 4 sides. On both sides of this and the back side, you got 4 points that this is going to line up. So they need to make sure that all that's lined up and in order as it's coming up through there, because that will be judged as part of the criteria. And on this one, on looking at both sides of it, I think I don't see anything to mark off for. Everything looks to me like it lines up properly the way it should.
Our next category is production. Production is very important. This project that we have built here was fully built in the time frame given, which is at the state level is a 3-hour time frame. So let's talk about production. This project being built in under 3 hours would receive 0 points deducted on production. Now, let me give you this example. If I only got half of the roll lock done and I like 6 brick in finishing the roll lock, you're going to get a point deducted for every unit not laid, regardless if it's brick or block. So that would be 6 brick that I didn't get finished, so that'd be -6 on production. Let's also talk about one other thing on production. It is highly important that I get this project done where I can get graded with my level, graded with plumb, graded with straight edge. So it's highly important that you finish your project. Should you not finish your project, I would at least recommend laying this brick and the brick on the other side. That way you can be graded on plumb, but you cannot be graded on level because you're not complete at the spot that you need to be. So it's very important that you get at least the first 2 brick on each side if you're not going to be able to finish this roll lock. But I highly encourage you to finish the project where you can be graded from top to bottom and not receive any deductions on production. Our last criteria that we will be judging you on is safety. Safety is very important during the construction of this project. We're going to be looking for a couple things. Number one, you are required to wear safety glasses the entire time that you're building this project. Meaning, if I'm building this project, I like to sweat when I work, and I pull my safety glasses off, such as this, and I wipe the sweat out of my eye, but I put my safety glasses right back on, that's not a deduction. We're perfectly fine with that. But if you're laying brick with your safety glasses on top of your head like this, that's a deduction, all right? Keep your safety glasses on. You are not required to wear a hard hat, and we do not want you wearing a baseball cap. We want you in your SkillsUSA uniform, which is your khaki pants and your khaki shirt, with your safety glasses on at all time. You must have work boots on, meaning you can't have any open-toed shoes or sneakers. You must have a hard bottom, hard sole work boot style shoe on. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is earbuds. You cannot have earbuds or anything in your ears while you are working. You cannot be on your phone, you can't have earbuds in, no electronic devices while you are building this project. All right, so let's recap. Safety glasses the entire time. You're not required to wear a hard hat. You are also not going to wear a baseball cap. You're going to be in SkillsUSA uniform, khaki pants, khaki shirt, and have work boots on. When you're building that project, your 4-foot level will be upright in a block, 8-inch block given to you for that. If I leave my rule open, laying on the ground, and my 4-foot level while I'm walking and working, that's a deduction on safety. Keep your rule folded up when not in use. Keep your 4-foot level standing in the extra block we're giving you while you're not using it. That will be what we will look for in safety during the construction of your project. So after we've graded all the criteria on the project, we've come up with a total deduction of points of 10. So this project received -10 on a score. Remember, low score wins on this contest. So make sure that you really observe what we showed you today and the processes that we went through to build this and what the judges will be looking for when they look at your project and score your project. SkillsUSA State Contest is April 28th. We will have the mortarboard furnished for you with a mortarboard stand for the Masonry 2 students. We will also have an extra 8-inch block for your 4-foot level to stand up in, so just be aware of that. I look forward to seeing you on April the 28th. We've got a good crowd of industry guys going to come and help us, so we're excited to see what your work looks like that day, and we're excited for you to show off your skills to us. See you on April 28th.